My being is the place where I connect to the divine hierarchy. It is the place where effortless concentration can take place. Free from the effects of my personality, that's where my best work is done. That's where I'm able to use the imaginal gift that's been given to me to have a more coherent connection. It's not an easily understood connection, it's an essential connection or a connection of essence. It's kind of why I like essential oils, to be very off the topic, that there is a way for the oil itself, the scent of the oil, to penetrate beyond just the olfactory sensibilities and move into a deeper part of my sensing. And so it is with the imaginal world. It requires a little bit of a preparation to enter in, but it nevertheless is a place that can be entered. There is a way to get in there. And for me, the way to get in is through meditation, but not the typical meditation where you're looking to empty your mind or become one with the ultimate nothing, or that you're mindful or mindfulness, whatever that stuff is, I don't know. But it's really something quite different, and that is the meditation on my angel, or the meditation on the essential me, who is constructed by and with my angel connection. That's something that's very precious, and it takes a little bit of sort of technical understanding in figuring out, at least for me anyway, how to kind of access that and stay with it. And as I've said earlier in other podcasts, early on, very early on, it's something that I think is super important, and I want to revisit it. So my early meditations were, pretty, they were pretty humorous, really. I was doing all kinds of stuff, and oh man, some of it was zany, comical almost, really. But as I moved along and got going, events began to unfold, and I began to have a little bit more of a clarity about what my meditation was about and what was going on. And I was able to see kind of how that was unfolding. So let me be more clear. The meditation that I was engaging in was a meditation where I saw myself meditating. So I had an image of myself that was me meditating. And it was almost like a little photographic or cinematographic moment where I could imagine myself, see myself in my imagination meditating. I did that for a long time. And then I began to realize that, wait a minute, that's me looking at me. There's a separation there. And I began to wonder whether or not the me that I was looking at meditating was in fact my angel. That I was looking at my angel as me meditating. And so I thought more about that and more about that. And then I one day sort of realized, well, wait a minute. Why don't you be yourself meditating as opposed to looking at yourself meditating? And so what I did was I moved the image that was before me, and I actually physically, in a way, I don't know how to explain it really, perhaps by psychic energy, I moved that image inside of me. I moved it, I physically moved it into me. So I was no longer myself watching myself meditate. I was, in fact, me meditating. And the physical experience of that was dramatic. I mean, and it still is that way as I bring myself into that moment of meditation where I am a connected being, my angel and me are meditating. So to me, that's what is meant when I hear the expression, meditate on your angel. Well, it is me who is presencing my own angel, meditating, and being aware of that and the effortlessness that occurs in that moment as I feel the connection with the divine hierarchy. Now, there's a lot of nuance to what I'm saying, and every meditation is not exactly the same, but the technique is the same, and the experience is almost always a similar experience. And there's a physicality to it. There's a goosebumps. I can't tell a lie here. It's just goosebumps. It's so intense that I oftentimes have to stop meditating because the intensity of it is so much that it overwhelms me. And that, to me, is my connection to the imaginal world. That's where the imaginal world is to me, and it is about my state of being in the imaginal world and my connection to the divine. And there is an effortlessness to it, and it is a little bit scary, because the energies that are unleashed around that meditation are considerable. And it is a candle by which I can hold other experiences. So I ask myself, well, what can I compare this to? Well, there's really not much. It is a very personal, physical experience of the divine. So I ask myself, well, where else can I get that? Where can I bring that? How do I find that? And by golly, it's really amazingly hard to do. And it's very difficult to do it in any kind of public sense. It's hard for me in some ways to do it in this way because it's such a precious thing and something that is so magical that the moment that I try and articulate it or say something about it, it tends to kind of move away a little bit, kind of to shift itself in ways I don't really understand. But I can definitely use it as a measure to begin to understand how the divine is working in my life. And it is so much like the experience of Yeshua as a recognition event. I mean, that's the thing about the Sanhedrin and Caiaphas and Pilate and the goings on of the business in the temple. They simply did not recognize Yeshua. The people recognized Yeshua, who followed him around, and he drew crowds. So it was just the fact of the crowds that drew the attention of the authorities, the money changers, the lenders, the bankers. So it was the crowd that they were very aware of, but they were not aware of who it was that was making the people show up. They couldn't see it. And so the easy answer is, well, let's just take him to Pilate and be done with him. They couldn't see. They didn't know who they were working with. They didn't know who they were beholding because they were so consumed by their personalities, by the stuff of personality. And it's a great example of how personality gets in the way of our divine connection because we are consumed. Our fantasy world is consumed by celebrity and power and money and fast cars and faster horses, bigger sailboats. And as a result, it's impossible then to concentrate on the connection we have with the divine hierarchy. We can't really then come to grips with our state of being. It remains cloaked. And so there is an enormous effort required to maintain the cloaking that we so willingly put on. And when we go another way and we start to yearn and long for something different, then it's easier for us to uncloak ourselves in the context of our meditation and to see ourselves as we really are and to see the angel who is our guide and protector and our connection to the divine right before us in our meditations. And at that moment, we can decide to bring that image into who we are. In so many places, it's it's very clear that the texts say, particularly in the Gospels of Thomas and others, that the key is image and likeness. So it is coming to grips with that image. I mean, we don't really grip it, but it's coming to a realization of image as it makes itself present in our lives. Icons and images. So these images are in fact iconic, and we can connect to them in a way that's a little different than what the rational mind wants to understand. So it's an imaginal world that springs out of our state of being. Our state of being then can welcome the image and the icon that represents our connection to the divine hierarchy. That's how we know. And so it is the embracing of that image, the angelic image that comes to me, and I hope will come to you. And I will say then to accept that, to do a little bit of work in recognition of what that image has to bring to our state of being as it enhances and expands our state of being, our consciousness of the divine hierarchy. So we are aware of the divine hierarchy in a new kind of way. And it is an awareness issue. And it is an experiential issue, which I treasure. And I pass on to you, and I hope that you will, in your meditation, see if you can find and look for the signs of these images and icons that will present themselves. It reminds me of early on work that I was doing, learning how to do a different kind of meditation, more of a journey meditation. And part of that meditation was to go ahead and find a spot where you were very profoundly affected, possibly as a young person. And in that spot on a beach or, in a field or, in your family farm or some place that you found particular meaning and comfort and security and safety, and to then go ahead and make that journey to that place in your mind and to sit down and to be aware of that place that affected you so dramatically, and then to wait. And in that waiting, all of a sudden, another world begins to emerge. So as you're sitting there imagining that little glade or glen or bit of peninsula on the beach, all of a sudden, the images and icons begin to show up. Their little faces come out of the trees, and the reflections begin to make manifest things that we couldn't imagine before. And those are where we find those kinds of connections, in those kind of meditations where we find safe places. And that's the thing about meditation that is so powerful. It is not a place you have to work at. It is a safe place. So in your meditations, look in your meditation for a safe space that will hold you and hold your state of being steady enough for you to invite your angel to join you. Amen.